lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Commuting with the cumulus billows high above the Australian gold country, we look down at the geological feature known as Mount Panorama, which not so coincidentally is a major part of the Mount Panorama circuit, which today plays host to round 4 of 8 on the Australia Formula Renault schedule. Sanctioned by iRacing Driver Association, all the action from green flag to victory donuts can be seen live as it happens here on the Global Sim Racing channel. This quarter-hour streamy award-worthy pre-race show will count down to the standing start of this 50-minute event. So bring cyberspace into your place, fill your tucker bag with a couple chilled cans of Bundaberg ginger beer, throw in a couple Vegemite sandwiches, and put your feet up in the recliner and enjoy the simulated road course excitement that will be streaming your way. G'day, mates, and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. I'm your host, Bill Soupson. Helping me call the action up and down the mountain is a man who knows this track very well, Richard Losper. Turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is our director, the Doctor of Pits Topology, Amjad Yaman, and at his disposal are the camera locations provided by Dougie Beard. This broadcast is made possible thanks to the good folks at The Screwed Gamers, Kart Action Media, and Zanardi Course Australia. And to keep things interesting, 200 eucalyptus leaves will fatten the wallets of the top 3 in the final point standings. And Richard, the best way to fatten wallets is through the winding roads up and down Mount Panorama. Richard, tell us a little bit about Bathurst.
And a very good evening it is here in Australia to all viewers and everyone else that might be interested in this car, the Formula Renault. Let's talk about this track. It's a 4-mile track, 6.213 kilometers. There are 23 turns. Mount Panorama, also known as Bathurst, serves as a public road, Bill, when it's not used for racing. And that's about, 360 days of the year. It is an absolutely legendary circuit and one of the most challenging in the world if you were to ask any driver who has participated in the Bathurst 1000, for example. Massive elevation changes and the closeness of the barriers on a very large part of the track make it one that is guaranteed to raise the adrenaline level in the body to unprecedented levels. The Formula Renault 2 car that they're using, it's an open wheel car. It will reach speeds of up to 150 miles an hour, 240 kilometers an hour down the famous Conrod Straight. Not as fast as a V8 supercar or a GT car, but fast enough to be scary anyway. To see what I am talking about, we have a lap guide for you done by our own Amjad Yaman. Let's have a look at that.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Formula Renault 2.0, so let's do a lap around Bathurst. Up first is Hell Corner, but it's deceptive on the surface. It's a simple 90-degree left turn, but your exit is critical to a good lap time. That's because you're now climbing up the mountain straight, so you won't be lifting for a long while. Drafting is likely to play a big part along this stretch, so expect to see some strategy games between drivers. As you come over the hump, hold to the left and spot your brake marker for Griffin's Bend. This is a turn where overtakes are probably going to take place. It's also a turn that tends to induce understeer, making it easy to clatter that outside curb too hard and chuck the car into the wall. Quickly, you've got to switch sides and get the car turned in for the cutting. This kink makes for tricky braking, and then the steep uphill incline to the second half will mean momentum is important. After that, you'll round Quarry, making sure to keep your foot in it and taking a nice wide arc around the bends. At the top will be Reed Park, followed by Frog Hollow, and then Solomon Park. The downforce of the Renault means this typically tricky section becomes a flat-out blast. Only the loss of grip from the crest of McPhillamy means a tiny lift to get you through the top of the hill. From here on out, it's a lot tougher. Balance the car on the brakes down through the S's and try to get it slowed up enough for the dipper. You can see these dramatic elevation changes actually cause a front wheel to go into the air momentarily a couple times. If you made it through that bit clean, make sure to line up the curved entry into Forest Elbow. This awkward downhill braking makes it extremely difficult to get the exit you need out of this important corner. Ideally, a late apex will get you the launch you need to carry your speed onto the Conrod Straight. Yet again, drivers will be using the draft either to find more lap time or save more fuel depending on the race conditions. As we approach the chase, things might get a bit spicy. The kink on entry is easily flat out, but when you're approaching at 150 plus miles an hour, hitting your brake marker accurately is a hard ask. This will probably be one of the most popular places for a pass all day, but the crest right after the apex often makes it easy to slide off the track into the grass, so beware. As you come around the bend, swing the car off to the right and set up for Murray's Corner. The best advice for this bend is to not get too aggressive on the inside curve. It tends to upset the car horribly. Hopefully, you've kept it on track and can now finish a lap around Bathurst.
Joe Peak talks us up, down, and around Mount Panorama. Now, hopefully you were with us last time for round 3, the doubleheader event from Watkins Glen. Let's go ahead and review a little bit of that. Gary Spiral Slice Hamilton led Riley Preston and the rest of the field into turn 1. The racing was pretty clean early. Now, the fans thought Hamilton might have another wire-to-wire win until Preston got around Spiral Slice on the outside. Hamilton fought back, going side by side with Preston through the inner loop near the end of the race. Preston caught the curb and spun, ending up 4th for the morning heat. Now, it wasn't wire-to-wire, but it paid just the same, as Gary Hamilton was the first to the checkered flag and getting credit for the win. But they weren't done, because there was one more heat to go. And the field was inverted for the afternoon heat with all the fast guys at the back. And when a few cars got together mid-pack, all the aggressive hot shoes in the back got taken out in what they called the big one. Thanks to a poor qualifying effort, Phil Gadd found himself running up in front in the inverted heat. But Jumpin' Jack Baker made quick work of Gadd to take the lead early. Perhaps the only top-tier driver to avoid being caught up in the big one was Riley Blythe, and with a few minutes to go, Baker surrendered the lead to Blythe, and from there on, Blythe kept it on the track to pick up the afternoon checkered flag. And so what does all of that mean to the point standings? Let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Despite Dynamic Sims Racing Gary Hamilton winning the morning heat at Watkins Glen, being caught up in that big one in the second heat cost Spiral Slice his points lead. Simon Fagel of Evolution Racing Australia takes over the top spot by 45 points. Jumpin' Jack Baker continues to live up to his nickname. Up 7 spots last time, he's up another 2 spots this time. The All-Star Motorsports driver now sits in a tie for 3rd with Evolution Racing Australia 2's Riley Blythe, up 7 spots thanks to his afternoon win at the Glen. And then Blythe's teammate Marcello Rivera rounds out the overlay. And speaking of Blythe and Rivera, they have Evolution Racing Australia 2 holding on to the team championship lead, but by only 15 points over their cousin team Aussie 1, manned by Blythe and Fagel. Mark Rayner and Justin Strickland put Team X-Ray up into 3rd, bumping Hamilton and Ben Jarley's Dynamic Sim Racing 1 down into 4th. Tim and Ryan Harris of DSR3 find the podium for the first time this season. Now, Richard, find the overlay for the first time this season. Now, Richard, tell us a little bit about the GT series. We're going to talk about the series details and then about today's format details.
Okay, well, this is scheduled as round number 4 of 8 races. There are no drop races in this series, so any bad races or any mistakes will hurt. The car is the Formula Renault 2.0. It's a 2-liter, 4-cylinder, 16-valve car. It produces 210 horsepower. It has, interestingly, 7 gears like a Formula 1 car. The setups are quite open. The format is a standard, a sprint and a super sprint. That is not for today. Today is just a 50-minute race. They have a standing start. Interestingly, for those who don't know, they have live marshals and a live safety car. That is quite an innovation. The iRacing pace car will never be used on this track as they don't actually throw a yellow. they will have their own pace car come out. The pace car, incidentally, is a Roofer RT12. The restarts are single file. There are no fast repairs. There's an incident cap of 46, which is quite high in my opinion. They have prizes, money prizes. Bill, first prize $100, not to be sniffed at. Second prize $70. Third prize $30. Back to you.
And then, of course, we're going to talk here about the race format here today. Now, they have lots of different kinds of races, lots of different formats. Today, we're just going to use the standard round format. Pretty darn simple. Qualifying 20 minutes open. Then you go to a nice race of 50 minutes. The fuel is going to be limited to 44%. We think that's going to be 1, maybe 2 pit stops. We'll find out, as we haven't had a driver poke in to tell us exactly how far they can go. This is a standard points race, single points this time. Last time we had the double points because they had 2 heats. This time just 1. Your standard winner gets standard points only. And the weather, it's dynamic weather. Hey, Richard, let's talk about this weather a little bit. I'll tell you the numbers. You tell me what it means. It's mostly cloudy out, 71 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't have that in maybe since this is an Australian. Why not? Can you transfer that over into metric or whatever you use there?
I sure can. It is Celsius, 22 degrees Celsius. The track temperature is a 28 degrees, which is fairly modest. And that's about right for this time of year up in the mountainous areas of Bathurst. So it's a coolish track. Speeds will be high and it will be quite grippy. This car does generate quite a bit of grip if you want to use the downforce that's available to you. So it should be interesting to see how fast they can go and how brave they are in their overtaking maneuvers. Being very interesting to see.
Now, we still have a little bit of time yet, so we can maybe bring up some drivers who got a little slap on the wrist for some penalties here at our last race. Now, I'll be honest with you, these penalties are getting smaller every time. First of all, you have drivers that exceeded the 15-point incident. You heard Richard talk about the 46-point incident cap. My goodness, if you get to 46 incidents, I don't know how your car is still in one piece, actually, at that time. You got to keep it on the road. But anyway, every time you get 15 incident points, you get penalized 10 points. And that happened to Marcello Rivera there. You see him getting that minus 10. But then we had a couple guys that got hit big. A 20-point penalty for Craig Edwards there and a 30-point penalty for James Mason. Both of those guys for unsafe re-entry. And Richard, on this place, I don't really know if you can have an unsafe re-entry. I guess there are some places, but so many times when you crash here, you're kind of bounced right back in the middle of the road.
Yeah, well, I am here to tell you that I think the incident cap is not going to be a problem. In fact, the incidents are going to be quite low. If you hit the wall, you're going to get 2 incidents, but your race is over, gone. So only 2 incidents, but you won't be able to race until you get your car repaired. Bearing in mind there are no fast repairs. Also, it's a long track build, so the towing time back to the pits using the iRacing towing scenario will be long and boring, and you will have to wait it out, and you will be frustrated while you're sitting there waiting to get back on track again. So the best idea, of course, is to keep it clean, keep it on the track, and keep it out of the walls.
This track is really like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type track. The bottom half of the track, the part of the track that's out of the mountains, a lot of wide open spaces. The walls aren't that close. You don't really, if you spin, you have a chance of just looping the car around and getting it back up. If you spin it going up or down the mountains, there is just no room. And usually I preach at the Backmarker United meeting, as like in one of our bylaws, is if you get into an accident and your car's on the track, keep the brakes on so that you don't roll in front of somebody. I don't know what you do here, Richard, because sometimes you honestly can't let your car sit there because you're in a blind spot. You're just waiting to be hit.
Yeah. Look, it's very difficult. Half of the track is across the mountain, and of course, the walls are very, very close there. If you do happen to have a problem, best thing you can do is to inform the rest of the drivers that you are in a bad position. Just give them a warning on the iRacing chat. I think would be the fair thing to do, because people will not be able to see you. The curves across the mountain there means that a lot of the time the cars in front of you are hidden from you.
Good news, bad news situation. Usually these fields are pretty big. In fact, we were talking earlier before we went live that we were expecting it to be a little bigger, this being Bathurst, where we think it'd be a an Australian favorite, but only 16 drivers today, so that may help if there are some issues. Now the qualifying is over. They're just putting in their hot laps. It takes a little while, though. iRacing lets you finish your lap time, and on this race, this track, it's about another 2 minutes. If you just cross the start-finish line before the clock runs out, they're going to give you another 2 minutes to go all the way around. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the drivers to keep an eye on today. We'll call them out when we grid, but Tim Harris right now sits a little bit ahead of Chris Lazarevic. Now, those guys are really fast. They're new to the series. They're sitting 1-2. Simon Fagel was having a horrible practice time. We were wondering what was up with him. We saw him down about 11th or 12th in the practice time. Much better. Put in a good qualifying lap, sitting up in third. Remember, when I went through those points, Fagel is running the points leader now, just ahead of Gary Hamilton. So if Gary wants to catch Simon, he's going to have to get around him on the track. Scott Newton in there. A lot of favorites in there all the way down. Marcelo Rivera's here sitting in 12th right now. And then, of course, my favorite driver, Brandon Su, sitting back there qualifying in 16th. Good news and bad news for Brandon Su is bad news. He's in 16th position. And the good news for Brandon is there is no inversion heat where he has to start up on the pole, because Lord knows that is a scary thing for him to do. Richard, we talk about that in the MX5 World Tour where they have the quick six gimmick where they invert the quick six. You should see one of these races where they invert the entire field. It could get a bit hairy.
Yeah. Yeah, look, that's a concept that in the my racing when I was racing live in karts, that happens all the time. The first and the second race is completely inverted. But it seems to me there's a couple of cars still out on track, but qualifiers certainly over. The flag has come out, the checkered flag. So back to you, Bill. Yeah. Maybe we are ready to call the grid.
Yeah, let's bring it up. And Rich, since we have time, we'll go with these two at a time. I'll take the front row, you take the second row, and our director will bring that up, I guess. Can we do it already? Sitting up on front, really no surprise. I talked about it before. These are your two hot shoes. Tim Harris, now his time was a 2 minute, 1 second, 0.5. Right behind him, Chris Lazarevic, 2 minute, 1 second, 0.52. So 2 100ths of a second separate them. Richard, who do you got for the second row?
Well, in the second row, we've got championship leader at the moment, Simon Fagel, and next to him is Gary Hamilton, two of the fast guys in this series.
1 and 2 in the point standing next to each other. Scott Newton and Justin Strickland make up row 3, Rich.
And then row 4 is Raleigh Blythe and Mark A. Rayner.
And then the fifth row, bottom one on the overlay. Jumpin' Jack Baker. Watch for him to make his way through the field. He's really exciting. And David Jellings in the 10th spot.
And they are followed by Nino Natali and Marcelo Rivera, who's, as I recall, a fast guy as well.
He is, if he can just get it, bring it home clean. Darren Lassou in the 13th position. Outside of him, Robert Sugar and Spicer.
Then we have T.J. Brown and the gentleman you spoke about just earlier, Brandon Su.
Now, I believe Jeremiah Morton might be one of the pace car drivers. I don't think he's going to take the grid. Martin Slavasi did not put in a practice. Well, he did put in a practice time, didn't put a qualifying time. Let's see if he's going to actually grid it. And then, of course, our series organizer, Clint Smith, back there. 16, possibly 17 cars taking the grid. Still waiting for everybody to get out there as the instructions right now are going across from race control, telling everybody about the pit cycle and how this is going to work. Hey, Richard, I'm going to put you up on the spot here. I know you're new to this series. Look it over. Just what does your gut tell you? If you had to pick somebody, pick a winner for us.
Well, Simon Fagel has been improving as the afternoon has gone on. So he wasn't that great in the practice, as we saw. But he's sitting up there in third place, a very handy place to be in. Time you're not up front, so you haven't got the target on your back. As they're gridding up now, I think he or even Gary Hamilton, the guys in the second row, they might be the ones. Let's go.
That's a wise pick, because those are the veterans of the series right now, and they should know how to bring that car home. Still waiting for everybody to take the grid. They are a little slow bringing those cars out there right now. Now we're getting a few of them coming out. Still that's it. Over-under for Las Vegas cars finishing this race is 8.5. So if you think 8.5 cars will bring it home, I think this is going to be an attrition-filled race. 50 minutes, no fast repairs. The walls are close. This one could be a matter of those back markers being able to get a good finish, making sure that they can vulture some spots as the faster cars run into trouble. Still waiting for everybody to take the grid.
And bear in mind, just quickly, these guys are going to be going very fast. There's a lot of grip out there. They're doing just over 2 minutes. Now the lights are red. Bill, back to you.
Keep an eye on Tim Harris. He's going to be leading them down into that first corner. It's the first left-hander. Gather up the chickens, take cover behind the cows because the horses are out of the barn. And sure enough, Tim Harris gets a great jump. Look at the inside, though, for fourth position. Oh, my goodness, taking a peek inside. And there's his spin. There goes Hamilton, gets caught. A couple drivers picked up in that battle. Still in the midst. I'm hearing safety cars coming out. Justin Strickland caught in this one. We can go right now and see a replay on this. Rich, what are you seeing here? Boy, they were pretty aggressive going into hell.
Yeah, Gary Hamilton was trying to overtake. The car in front of him was having none of it, but then the car spun going into the very first corner, Hell's Corner, it is called, and he spun right in front of Gary. Gary collected him, and that's brought out the safety car.
Well, all heck broke out in hell right there. Yeah, now that was some guys who got caught in that. Strickland got into it big time. He got it. Also, drivers involved were Simon Fagel and Gary Hamilton. We're going to go on board with Hamilton now. You'll see him trying to duck to the inside. We have plenty of time to look at these replays.
Yeah, he tried an overtaking maneuver into turn 1. It was a legitimate maneuver. There was nothing wrong with what he did. The car in front of him just spun. And I need to get the name of that guy in front of him there. Not sure who it was, but there was nowhere for him to go after that.
Yeah, now, I'm not actually sure. The car that spun was Simon Fagel, and honestly, when I looked at it, I don't think that Hamilton actually got into him. He maybe scared him, ducked it in there, and maybe on full tires, the Fagel's car just didn't work, but Fagel looped it in front of Hamilton, and then got collected by Strickland. The pace car is out right now, but it's basically pretty much stopped on the track, waiting for these leaders to come all the way around. You see him now, working their way. There's the pace car. And maybe we can figure out who is in that pace car. Can we tell?
Jeremiah Morton is the pace car driver. It is now on Mountain Straight, going up the hill, waiting for the field to catch up. There'll be no doubt there'll be some talking going on. Clint Smith, who's out there as one of the marshals, he's calling safety car in the chat. So everyone should be aware that the safety car is out. Bill, they only went 300 meters and we got the safety car.
One of the reasons they use a live safety car is that, although you couldn't tell it right now, so the safety car pretty much parked on the track. Once the field catches up, the safety car can run at a faster pace, and these pace laps can be a little faster. And right now, they finally catch up to the leader there. Chris Lazarevic catches up behind Jeremiah Salty Morton out there in that beautiful pace car doing the job. Jeremiah, keep it between the walls, baby. Don't want to crash that roof.
Yeah, Bill, it seems to me now that having had the pole position, Chris Lazarevic, he got clear of all the problems. Simon Fagel, who was my pick for the win, he is the unfortunate driver that got the spin there and started this whole melee. So he's going to be really upset with himself, because he's now way down there in about 17th place as they do the restart, which they will do as they go across the mountain now. Beautiful roof car there. Chris Lazarevic behind him, Tim Harris, Scott Newton and Mark Rayner inherited third and fourth, so that's good for them.
Okay. Now, Fagel has been able to bring that car into the pits. Let's see, the other cars, he started third. He's running in the back of the pack right now. Strickland also has made a pit stop. I take a look at Strickland's car. He got a pretty good shot to the nose. His car looks pretty good. And then the other car that got caught in it is Gary Hamilton. I'm not sure if he actually brought it. I can look to see if he brought those cars in. Hamilton did not bring his in yet. Strickland did, and so did Fagel. Hamilton's got some damage to the nose.
Yeah, Hamilton did not come into the pits. Fagel did. He's just still sitting there, so he's getting some damage repairs. He also took tires and no doubt took fuel as well, so he's just topped it off. It's not going to make much difference to his race calculations, but the pace car being out there will. So that will change the the calculations of these guys for their fuel.
Now, Richard, another open-wheeled series that we do here at GSRC is a great series on Sunday mornings. Well, I guess it's on Sunday at some time of the day, depending on your location on the globe. Is the Absolute Beginner League. They run the Skippy car. Now, when those cars have front wing damage, it really doesn't matter that much, as the front wing just doesn't. It's not so important. These cars have a little more dependency on the front wing, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, these cars seem to be modeled more on the Formula One cars than on the lower Formula cars. The lower Formula cars are really fun to drive, and the Skippy is an example of that. We have similar cars here in Australia where they race similar 2-liter engines, and it is a lot of fun. Those cars have quite a bit of grip, but really downforce is not an issue there.
It's more mechanical grip than aero. These ones are a little more aero dependent. Now, the pace car is passing pit entrance here, so this will be a see if Hamilton brings the car in this time, or if he's going to decide to stick with the wing. I don't see, Gary, if I'm on your pit box, I see no reason why not to come in and see if they can get that wing fixed. I mean, it's only going to cost you a couple positions. David Gelling coming in to top off. Also coming in behind him is TJ Byrne. And we're going to take a break right now, so we'll be back before we go green. This is Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll be back in a few. Richard Losper here with me, Bill Soup Zahn, along with Amjad Yaman in the director truck out in the parking lot calling the iRacing Drivers Association. This is Formula Nagel round 4 of 8 from Bathurst here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We're under yellow right now. The pace car has pulled away and has pulled into the pits, turning over the pacing of the field to our leader, Tim Harris, who's out in front of Chris Lazarevic. They went single file here, Chris, as Chris starts to pull alongside of Tim right there. They're getting that straightened out. This is going to be working lap number 3, but this really not the lap numbers really don't matter as much as we have 41 minutes to go in this 50-minute race. It went yellow right after the first corner when they got together.
Well, Bill, it looks like Chris did a little bit of a jump there. He was going slow, and then we had Tim coming up alongside of him, but then he shot away, and now they're together. They are starting the first angry lap of this race, really.
That's a good way to put it. The first angry lap as they work their way. I like to say down the straightaway, but that's wrong here. It is up the straightaway. Up. It is Harris in front, Chris Lazarevic in second, being chased by Scott Newton, Let's just see if we can get a nice lap in, boys. Those three guys are out in front. Rayner and Blythe run 4 and 5. Blythe being challenged by jumping Jack Baker as they work their way now up the twisty section, up the mountain.
Yeah, and there was a gap between the first three. There's still a little gap, but it seems to be closing a bit now between the first three and Mark Rayner in 4th place. Then we've got another gap back to Rally Blythe. Then you're jumping Jack Baker. He is right on the tail of Rally Blythe as they go across the mountain now, heading into Skyline. And this is where they go down the mountain. This is quite scary. You've got to keep the car on the track. You've got to keep a watch carefully what's happening ahead of you, especially if you're close to another car. And then you've got to think about what you're going to do when you come out onto Conrad Straight, which they are doing right now. This is from looking from Jack Baker's point of view.
Couple drivers in the back that had a little bit of trouble. TJ Brown, and I see somebody got into Brandon Sue. Boy, he was in the middle. He was in the middle of the mountain. Put it in the wall. He had a couple cars behind him getting around him. Slavossi. Justin Strickland gets by him too. Gary Hamilton also gets around.
Yeah, he's got back damage. He's stopped the car now. He will take the tow, which is the clever thing to do. Back to the front there in the lead. There's a battle here for the lead as they come into Murray's corner. Chris Lazarevic manages to hang on. He just went defensive. Tim Harris couldn't do anything about that. Now they go back to Hell's corner. Again, there's a try from Tim, but he backs out of it. Bill, I think these guys are feeling each other out rather dangerously in the early laps here, as we see a challenge from the 3rd place Scott coming up on Tim Harris and passing him, Bill.
Yeah, we see that replay right there. You can see Lazarevic out in front. Now we go back to live. Scott Newton running in 2nd. Harris has dropped back to 3rd. This is a good run for Newton. Newton would like to stay on the back of Lazarevic here. As now they work their way through the twisty section. This is where a fast car cannot maybe get away if you're that much faster, because they really can't stay with you in the tow. It's all about racecraft through here as we ride on board with Harris in 3rd position, looking up ahead at Newton in 2nd, and Lazarevic out in front trying to break these guys. Richard, probably not enough time to get away. If you can stay anywhere close coming out of Forest Elbow, you can probably get back in that tow, huh?
Absolutely. The thing is, going across the mountain, there's very little opportunity for an overtake maneuver there. So you've really got to try and close it up on the approach here to Forest Elbow. As you come out of Forest, you want the best exit you can, so that you can. We've got something on screen.
And Rivera has looped it all by himself now. He parked it on the side. It looks like everybody's going to get around him. He comes over, says, "I'm stuck." He waits for cars to get around. We'll watch it now on the replay.
And he's right across the track there. That is so dangerous.
He came over the mic, just what you said. He came over the mic and said, "I'm parked here. I'm here. And then when there was a break, he brought the car back out. We talked about Rivera being fast, but that's his Achilles heel. He has trouble bringing it home. So Bathurst wins another one. Meanwhile, up in front, let's go to 2nd position.
Yes, there is a challenge there by Tim Harris on Scott Newton. Makes it stick into Murray's corner. That's the last corner before the start-finish line. They cross the line, going into another lap there, lap number 6. We're not interested in laps really, as Bill mentioned earlier. The elapsed time in this race has been 15 minutes. There are still 36 minutes to go. But nice little break here from Chris Lazarevic on Tim Harris at the moment. That's what you want, to try and get that little break to get them away from your draft.
You really couldn't see on those long-angled shots until they went over the hill. You could see the distance. Now there's a battle for 4th, and that's jumping Jack Baker. Got inside of Mark Rayner, kind of elbowed Mark out of the way. Nothing wrong with that, as he had good presentation. And Rayner's going to also lose another spot to Riley Blythe as well. So Rayner falls from 4th to 6th. Meanwhile, we're looking at Hamilton trying to make up for his early problems. Right now, as he's making his way, he's chasing David Jellings right now. Hamilton is up to 11th.
Yeah, Gary Hamilton, one of the front runners. In fact, I believe Gary Hamilton started in 4th place. He was on the 2nd row of the grid. And then he had that unfortunate early accident with Fagel. And he's trying to come back now from that situation. And we're getting more information, more accidents.
A self-spin from Riley Blythe. Remember, Baker just got around him. He just kind of loops it around and slides the right-hand part of the car perfectly in the track. Now he's parked right in the middle. Well, let's watch here on the replay. Everything I'm watching here live as we watch on the replay a little bit behind. He gets the car back out there. A nice job from from Blythe.
Yeah, but I'm wondering about this as we see that replay there. We go back live now. The track is grippy. The temperature is cool. The car has a lot of grip naturally. So why are these guys having all these spins? To me, it seems like they've dialed up the the downforce. They've dialed it down to almost nothing so they can get the most speed they can on Conrod Straight. That may be what's catching a lot of people out as they come to the twistier parts of this course. There's only two really long straights here, and that's the Mountain Straight and, of course, Conrod Straight. The rest of it is twisty. I think you could do quite well with a sort of mid-level downforce in your kit bag.
Well, that'll be a good question if we can talk to Chris Lazarevic when he comes in for a post-race interview. What kind of setup did he have? Right now, I think he has a low downforce setup, and he's just really fast down the straights. And then he manages to get through these twisted sections pretty effectively also. Because while all those incidents were taking place that we were covering, Lazarevic was able to open up a 2-second gap on Harris. Harris had to get around Newton because he saw that Lazarevic was getting away. It might have been a little too late for Tim, as 2 seconds is probably out of the tow. Harris, if he wants to catch up, is going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's just be faster.
That is correct. However, there is also the situation where they do have to come into the pits. Now, we found out that...
a spin from the leader. Is that what I'm hearing? Our leader has spun in Forest Elbow. My goodness.
And he's sitting there. He's still sitting there, or was still sitting there, Chris Lazarevic. Now he's rolling once again. Will he come into the pits? How much damage did he get? Yes, he's got damage. He's off the course, coming down Conrod Straight, so the car not driving straight. He'll have to come into the pits to get some repairs. Not good for our leader. I think that makes a bit of a case for what we were talking about earlier, Bill.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that the car is as damaged as much as this. He just kind of nosed it in on the front, maybe 3 or 4 miles an hour into the wall. But the car looks horrible as I saw him drift off into the grass. He's fallen back into 5th position, but he's not bringing it into the pits. He's going to keep it out. We'll keep an eye on him as he's being chased by somebody who certainly doesn't have the pace, at least the reputation. That's Nino Natal running in 6th position. So we'll see what Chris Lazarevic can do. And my goodness, you never know at Bathurst, do you, Richard? You think you're good, but it can bite you anytime.
Yeah. Anytime. The track is a killer, and that's why at the top of the show I said that it commands respect from some of the best drivers in the world in any type of car. They have struggled at Bathurst, and we are seeing here our drivers here in this Formula Renault, which is a grippy car, just putting it in the wall everywhere.
Yeah, I think we kind of maybe touched on the point. The reason he was fast, but maybe he was fast because he was racing on the edge. That could be the reason.
Absolutely.
Let's go back and see if we can. They're pretty much spread out. What I'd like to do is review some of the drivers who were caught up in that early incident. Hamilton now has worked his way. Hamilton is in the pits. Now, maybe this is scheduled. Maybe he thinks he can go the distance from here. Maybe with 31 minutes to go, this is probably a scheduled stop he can go away from him. So Hamilton had worked his way up. Strickland was also involved in that incident and been moved to the back. He's running in 8th position. And then, of course, there's your overall points leader, Simon Fagel. Uh-oh. And there's a crash. It looks like it was Strickland. Oh, we jinxed him.
We're getting a replay of this situation. Let's find out what happened here.
It was Spicer. Was it Sugar and Spicer? Is that what you're thinking, Director? Oh, it's Blythe that was in trouble. Spicer at the same time had an incident.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The car is just looped around, and he had to get it restarted. And so we are seeing a lot of attrition. We alluded to that early on in the broadcast, but I am surprised, Bill. There's just a lot more attrition than we need
There's
here.
another car off. Lazarevic was off in the grass, and he just called it a day. Maybe we can see how he got out there. That looked like he was going to have a picnic.
Yeah, looks like he's called it a day, as has TJ Brown, Marcelo Rivera, Robert Spicer. These guys have decided that Bathurst is too much for them, Bill.
Yeah. Lazarevic just in the chase. The car just didn't turn, and he just kind of went out there and says, okay, I guess that's it for me.
All right,
So-
well, let's go up to the front now, Bill, where we have Tim Harris leading this race at lap number 9. That is just under 30 minutes to go in this race. He's looking really good at the moment. He's being followed by Scott Newton, who did a great job in getting in front of him at one point, but
Right.
now he's behind by over 2 seconds. Third place, Jack Baker, who you mentioned, they call him Jumping Jack Baker. I like that name. And then, of course, fourth and fifth place is Mark Rayner. And Nino Natali, who we haven't mentioned previously, he's up to 5th place.
And we just talked about Rayner, and it looks like, he doesn't hit anything. Oh, he does. He backs it into the wall. Oh, he wallets the wall with a wall up there as he just rolled it back in. And that's going to let Nino Natal get around him. Rayner's going to need some repair on that one. We're halfway.
All kinds.
Go ahead, Richard.
All kinds of problems he had going over the mountain there, and as you say, he lost it completely, had all the brakes locked up, and backed it into the wall. He's got going again. He's got a rear wing that's badly twisted. That's not going to help his aerodynamics. Let's see if he comes into the pits on lap 9, 30 minutes to go, and he's going to hit the wall once again, coming out, coming into the last part of the chase there.
Oh, that one hurt too. That one's going to leave a mark. Your 5th place, Mark Rayner.
Dear, oh dear. As I was going to say, the attrition is unbelievable with a car that really has a lot of grip. Shall have to. Well, he's coming into the pits anyway, so we'll see what happens there. Bill, back to you. Let's find out who's actually. He couldn't even get it into the pits.
Rayner having quite an adventure, getting the most for his iRacing dollar here, having as much fun as. Oh my goodness. I'd like to point out here, before I think we're going to set the stage here in a second, but I want to put the cameras on Justin Strickland, currently running in 5th position. The reason I bring this up, he has 2 pit stops under his belt. He had that first one from the incident. Then I think he made a scheduled pit stop along with Hamilton. I think this guy is good to go from here, so keep an eye on Strickland as a sleeper. We're not so sure if these guys are going to need to make a splash and go here in a minute. If they can get past another lap, I think they're pretty good to go from here. Let's see as we ride on board with Strickland there, going up the hill.
Yeah, I'm having a look at the drivers in front of him. Tim Harris is looking really good at the moment, but everyone we've spoken about that looked good immediately put it into the wall, Bill, so we will not say anything about Tim Harris. Scott Newton has also done a great job. He is sitting back there less than 2 seconds, so he has made up a couple of tenths on Tim Harris, so at least they both have similar pace. A couple of tenths is not much to talk about, but at least they're holding their pace.
Harris is off in the grass. He's going to lose this spot now as he can get the momentum back. I think Newton's going to try to get around him on the outside, and Newton does it. I don't think Harris had a slowdown penalty. The only slowdown he had was lack of momentum. So now we have something to watch here. As we watch this replay, the car just like it didn't bite. It's just like it wouldn't turn for him.
Yeah, these guys have their downforce dialed way too low. I would have certainly have put more downforce. If I'm one of the mid-packers here, say like a Gary Hamilton, who's now in the mid-pack having had his problems, he would be looking good for a podium just if he can keep it on the track for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I may step away from the mic and see if I can jump in and join this race. I think I could probably get a top 10 the way the nutrition is going right now if they'll let me in. I guess they won't let me do that. Meanwhile, Scott Newton now, there's going to be no pass for the lead here as Newton's going to be ahead of, I'm going to assume Harris is not going to do anything while they go across the mountain. I guess there are a few places he could try, but it's so easy to do it on the straights, it's kind of pointless.
If in racing terms you have a death wish, then go ahead and try the pass, by all means. Otherwise, just stay behind and wait for your turn. It comes on Conrod Straight. You can't find a better opportunity to use the power of your car and to use the draft to make an overtaking maneuver. As we see, they're very, very close here. This is going to be a good move, and I'll bet any money that Tim Harris will try to go for the lead. But we've seen Scott Harris do a great job in defending as well. So he's got enough of a break that he will get to the chase, I think, before Tim Harris can catch up with him.
And they may actually pit this time. We'll watch this battle for the lead here as Harris begins to run him down. He might just be feeling him out right now. No need to hurry. My apologies to the friends and family of Justin Strickland. As soon as I mentioned him getting those 2 pit stops in and being a factor in the race, he crashes, and now he is out of the race. He's retired.
Yeah, he has retired. Still showing in 5th place there in the iRacing timing and scoring, but of course we know that he is out of the race. I guess the attention is all on the top 2 at the moment, Scott Newton and Tim Harris. But there are a number of other guys. Jack Baker in 3rd place. Let's see how far back he is. Well, he is quite far back, over 5 seconds, nearly 6 seconds back there, Jack Baker. So he's not out of it by any means. And then, of course, Nino Natali still further back, 15 seconds. And that is your top 4 at the moment. We won't look at any of the others. They're much, much further back.
And then there's a weird situation of David Jellings. I believe Jellings, he's on a 9-lap stint, so he's taken 1 stop already, but I don't think it's a scheduled stop. He still needs to pit right now. So I'm looking for the leaders of all the cars that might be able to go the distance from here. And I believe it is Spiral Slice Hamilton. And that's Gary is his first name, currently running in 9th in a battle for the lead.
As we watch Tim Harris they're going across the mountain. They're coming down towards the Dipper. This is not the place to try, but he's now much closer than he was the previous lap, Bill. So let's see what he can do. It's all about coming out of Forest Elbow. You get a good launch out of Forest Elbow, which they're just negotiating right now. Again, Scott Newton, very, very good out of Forest Elbow there, and getting a little bit of a break as they go down Conrod Straight. But now you'll see the draft kick in, and you'll see that gap narrow down, but still I don't think he's close enough. Will they come into the pits this time? Well, let's see.
I think it's safe to say that it's going to be a one-stop race for these guys up here. They've gone past the halfway mark, so this we're looking at one stop. Is anybody coming in this time? No, and this is where I would think if I was Harris, if I was in my window, I would recommend that for Harris to come in, because I think he's actually faster than Newton. And if you could come in, maybe run some fast laps and just leave Newton behind in the pits window right now. But as it is,
he's going to do the pass. It's got handed to him. Scott Harris pushing too hard into Hell Corner there. Now Scott Harris will have to fall in behind. Let's see how aggressive Scott Harris is. I saw him do an over Scott Newton, my apologies.
And here he is coming back. Yeah, Newton did a good job when he made that mistake. He did a good job of getting back out there and not compounding the error by making it worse. He was able to get back out in the draft of Harris and stay with him. And honestly, if he can, the kind of bite that Newton gets off of that, like getting the bite of a Newton, that's what I say. The bite that he gets off of Forest Elbow, he has a good chance of getting him down that long straight. We'll keep an eye on this as we ride on board with Scott right now.
Yeah, this is the battle for P1. There's no doubt. It's very exciting. And we've got two great drivers with similar pace here, Scott Newton and Tim Harris. Not Scott Harris, as I mentioned earlier. That was completely stupid. We have Scott Newton. Now, Scott has fallen back. What can Tim Harris do? What sort of launch will he get out of Conrad now? He is up ahead. See, this is it. You don't want to be too close to the driver in front in case he makes a mistake, because it's easy to make a mistake in that last turn. But now we're seeing I think Scott has got less downforce than has Tim. Watch him eat him up down the straight there, Bill.
He got him. Now he's going to be on the outside of the chase. Well, I think he's going to get it done before they get to the chase. My goodness. A lesson learned. Put that in your memory bank for the end of the race. If these two guys are fighting, you can get that pass done at the chase and then maybe defend from there. Let's see if they They're going to stay out one more time. Meanwhile, as they stay out, probably no pass here. Let's quickly mention that Martin Slavasi has come in and made his pit stop. And he did not get out, though, in front of Hamilton. So Hamilton is still the leader of all the cars who pitted. I'm going to give you a little bogey time if my timing and scoring will do it. It looks like it's about 1.2 minutes from Newton back to Hamilton. I don't think that's within striking distance. I would think that Newton and Harris can get in and make their stop before Hamilton can get there. Maybe not.
Yeah, a minute's a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, one question's been answered for me. Obviously, now Tim Harris has more downforce dialed into his car than Scott Newton. That is the reason why, Bill, he was not able to take advantage of the Conrad Straight and catch up and pass Scott Newton. Scott, on the other hand, actually made the pass look quite easy when he was behind.
Yep.
Now, they are battling hard here for that first position. Tim Harris very, very close, but I think he knows that Newton, certainly from the pass that happened previously, he knows that Newton doesn't have, has the straight line speed over him. So I doubt whether he will actually be trying to make the pass. He's just going to keep as close as he can to Newton, and the pit stop is where these two will be differentiated, I'm sure. By the way, Bill, I wanted to make a comment. They can't go. They have to go in together. If you go in, if I was Scott Newton being up ahead, I would try and get in the pit and get rid of Tim Harris. Now, here's Tim side by side. Bill, he's going to try for the pass. He was very close. See, Scott Newton has got more. He doesn't have it.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Scott Newton's got more power, and this is going to be very close. It's very tough here.
And I think that Harris is well aware. Oh, and as Newton makes a mistake. We've seen that mistake out there before. Now Newton has to, you know what? He's going to say, okay, I made that mistake. Now's my chance to come in and pit. I'm going to lose you. I think I'm going to lose you in the toe. I'll come in and do the stop right here. So now, this is where Harris, if he has anything, if he can do anything, he's wanted to have a hot lap here, maybe lose Newton in the pit cycle. Newton in. Now remember, the driver who is leading of all the cars who have pitted is Gary Hamilton. Let's see if we can pick up Hamilton. Oh my goodness, he's only on the mountain. He's a long way away. I can't imagine that Scott Newton's not going to be able to get in and out before Hamilton gets around.
Oh, and Scott Newton has muffed it. He has got to reverse back into his pit. Then he's got to go forward back again. He's really made a big mess of his pit stop there. So this is great for Tim Harris. He's got to get a clean pit stop, and he's coming back out now. There was a short pit stop for Newton, in fact, 16 seconds. So that's a pretty good pit stop for these cars. Then, but Tim Harris, that messing up there is going to make all the difference. Maybe Jack Baker, Nino Natali, when they do their pit stops. Nino has done his pit stop, by the way. So where is Nino Natali? Not far behind.
Looking at Nino, he's made that spot. Is he ahead of Hamilton? He is ahead of Hamilton.
Yeah, he will be ahead. He's only done a 3-second pit stop, so there's no time to take any tires on that. 3 seconds, so that's just a quick top up of the fuel, and they're back out again. Now, Scott Newton, by contrast, did a 16-second. I didn't see him taking tires, so that's just totally messed up his pit stop, going backwards and forwards, trying to get into his pit stall.
Yeah, I almost have to wonder if Natal's pit stop. I'm showing actually 5.4 in the box, so maybe 3. It was short, no matter what the time was. I can't imagine he took enough fuel. We will see. I'm looking at other drivers who took pit stops of 10 seconds. Some even took 19 seconds for a stop. So
yeah, but that would be with tires.
Yeah,
that'll be with tires. Look, there's 16 minutes left, so the absolute minimum fuel. We said 22 liters. I don't know what that is in gallons, but certainly he would have taken only half of that if I'm calculating on the fly correctly. Yeah.
Well, here we go. Harris has gone around again, running in second. Jumpin' Jack Baker has decided to bring it into the pits right now. So here he comes in. So where's Newton? Well, Newton's in the chase right now. That's the driver running in third. And then, of course, there's Nino Natal. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's see what Baker does. Nice, clean entry into his pits. No tires. Just takes fuel. 2.4, say 3 seconds as well. 2.5 seconds for him. So that's just a big splash of fuel. And I think that the fuel must go in really fast into these cars, Bill, because if that's enough to go for 15 minutes, that's fantastic.
And Baker is out in front of Newton. How about a charge here? Started 9th, up to 2nd. That's 7 spots. Another nice run from Jumpin' Jack.
And now, Bill, with 15 minutes to go in this race, in a 50-minute race, so, they've done 35 minutes already. Tim Harris, who has still to pit, he's the only one that hasn't pitted yet. He's out in front. Then we've got Jack Baker, Scott Newton, Nino Natali, and Gary Hamilton making up the top 5. And just outside of that, you have you've
Justin
got
Strickland is back.
Yeah.
And to quote Mark Twain, I think the reports of his death were grossly exaggerated. As I called it a day for him, he's out there running 6th. So again, I hope friends and family of Justin Strickland have come back to watching. Jellings in 7th. Slavasi is in the pits right now. Is this a scheduled stop for Slavasi? I believe it. No, I do not think so. Oh, Slavasi! He just slammed it in the wall coming up the mountain. I think it's going to be the end of the day. Actually, he took a tow. I think Slavasi is done.
Okay, so just on Strickland, so what you can do in the iRacing services, you can take the tow, and then you can actually exit from the car and go and have a cool drink or whatever while you're waiting for the car to get towed back to the pit. So that is what must have happened with Strickland. He's out there, he's really pushing hard to get his laps done and doing a great job, but of course he's a minute 8 seconds back from the lead at the last lap here. We can actually update that for you. He's more like he's a minute 8 seconds back from the lead. Tim Harris, has he made his pit stop yet? Not yet.
He has not. Harris driving with an egg under the pedal there. Probably will have to come in this time. The Vegas number was 8.5 for over-under. Well, if you bet the under, you're probably going to be a winner right now, as there are only 8 cars out on the track of the 16 that started. And we still have 2 or 3 more laps to go right now. Harris, Baker, Newton, Natal, Hamilton, Strickland, Jellings, and Sue. And that's it, boys and girls.
Yeah, that's really tragic. And there's one in the pits there, Slavasi.
I don't think he's coming out. I think Slavasi, Rayner, Blythe, Lazarevic, Rivera, Spicer, Brown, Sue, and Fagel have all called it a day.
Well, Bill, at the risk of putting the markers on Tim Harris here, I'm going to say that he's really run a faultless race. He's been up or near the top from lap 1. He hasn't looked like making a mistake, and I think that is because he has got not that much downforce. He's leaving his pit stop to the absolute last minute. Only 12 minutes to go in this race. Surely he must be running out of fuels at this stage.
Well, and Newton had trouble there, as we're going to see. And as we talk about that, Harris is coming in. Newton has had an issue. Is he back out, though, as we're watching him right there?
Okay, so we need to look at Newton and Jack Baker. 29 and 35 seconds, not enough. Not with the short time these guys take to put the fuel in, Bill. Tim Harris should come out in first place.
And Newton was actually, because there's 8 cars here on a 4-mile track and they're nicely spaced around, Newton was actually able to spin that car from 3rd position and still keep 3rd, as he's about 2.5 seconds now ahead of Natal, running in 4th. You talk about
a stop, taking tires. He took tires as well. Now he comes out. That was 7.5 seconds. I suppose he had the luxury of being able to do that, yeah. Bill. Jack Baker is still... Oh, Jack Baker's very close, but he's still in first place, Tim Harris.
You talked about a perfect race from Tim Harris. I think we should go ahead and throw that definition over there to Jack Baker as well. He's been running in 2nd. Nice race, has been did everything perfect, picked up 7 positions, running in 2nd. That's going to help him in the points. He's got now ahead. Oh my goodness, look at this, Tim Harris. This is closer than I thought. This is only an interval of 1.3. I'm sorry, Richard, I didn't give it the attention that it really deserved.
Absolutely. That's why I
almost in the toe here, I think.
He is in the toe, as we will see now. It depends on what sort of downforce he's got dialed in as to whether he can actually catch Tim Harris as they go down Conrad Straight? We will find out very shortly as they go into the dipper.
Oh, he's coming. Oh, my goodness, he's right there as Harris has a horrible exit. Right behind him now is Jumpin' Jack Baker. He's right there, and Harris has a bobble on Forrest Elbow. Baker with a drive out of Forrest Elbow. We don't know who's going to be faster here as they are... Baker just a little bit behind, scooting up in his chair. Both drivers trying to get that car to move as fast as they can. They're side by side going into the chase. Are they going to get... Now Baker starts to pull out in front. Is Baker going to have the position as they go in? Is he going to be able to close the door before they go in through this section? And they do. A new leader. Surprise. Hello to the lead. Jumpin' Jack Baker. Fighting back, though, is Tim Harris. Woo, it's close, Rich.
It is. And Tim Harris is showing all the hallmarks of a wise driver. He's not pushing the issue too much, but he's pushing it enough so that Jack Baker knows that he's there. And just looking at them coming down the Conrad Straight there, it looks like they've got similar downforce. Now we see Tim Harris making an attempt going to the outside here. Jack Baker very defensive. You'll see that they've got similar pace going up the mountain. This is going to be very interesting, Bill, because these cars are very similarly set up by the looks of it.
Jack Baker totally missed the apex at Hell Corner there, and Harris made a run on him. Now this is where Harris is good through this section.
We got some information. What was that, Bill? I don't know.
Well, yeah, Baker was in the lead across, so Baker's still out in front. They were side by side. Baker never actually lost that lead, so he's still out in front. This is where Harris is going to be fast, coming through this twisty section here. Baker had a horrible exit through Hell Corner and almost lost it going. What is that main straight called there, Richard? Does it have a name? That the big one after Hell Corner?
After Hell Corner, that you go through, there's no main street, then you start to go over the mountain through Griffin and into the cutting and so on. But the open section, if that's what you're talking about, is Skyline. And then they come down here now, Forest Elbow, as we see that it looks to me as if Jack Baker's making a getaway. Tim Harris has not been flawless after his pit stop. He's taken on new tires, Bill. I think that's the problem. He took tires and they're still cold.
The Baker is cooking right now as he is out in front by 1.7 with just under 8 minutes to go. Where did he pick up this speed? Was it the tires that Harris took? We'll have to go and maybe talk after the race to find out. If it was tires, maybe they'll start to come in. Right now, Jumpin' Jack Baker out in front. He started in 9th position. He is now your leader. Qualifying, smallifying. That's what Jack Baker says. Just get me on the track and I'll get to the lead. But here through that final corner, Baker did not have a good run. And now here comes Harris again. He's closing the gap. It's down to 1 second.
I think Harris's tires are starting to work for him now. The first couple of laps, the tires were very cold and needed to get some heat into them. And this is great. iRacing has done a good job with the modeling of the tire to the track at this stage of their development. And it looks as if Tim Harris is making up time on Jack Baker. Jack Baker will have to be very good from here on in. And Bill, we do know that Tim Harris has got fresher tires than Baker, so that may be a factor in the last 5 minutes of this race.
Where I would expect Harris to be good, he is not, as Baker is able to distance himself through the twisty section across the mountain. They started up the mountain at 1 second apart. They're going to get down the mountain at almost 2 seconds apart, the way Baker is running right now. That was Harris's strong point earlier when he was in that battle with Newton, but right now, Baker is flying. It's 1.8 seconds. Almost, my goodness, he is good through this twisty section, Richard.
That's right. That is what it was when they were coming out of Forest Elbow on the last lap. So Tim Harris knows he's got his hands full to catch Jack Baker. Jack Baker is just a lot braver across the mountain there, where Tim Harris is conservative, shall we say. And that's not a bad way to be. I'm not making any negative remarks about that. He's doing a great job, Tim Harris. And really, let's face it, if you come second after a race like this, 50 minutes of total attrition, it's going to be a good finish. Let's go have a look at Scott Newton quickly. Where is he? He's not that far behind, but I don't think he's got any hope of catching them in the 2 or 3 laps that's left in the race here.
As they come across the start-finish line now, we'll give you the official iRacing timing and scoring, and they mark it as 1.6 seconds between first and second.
That is correct. And let's see, they go up the mountain straight once again. Tim Harris doing 189, 190, getting up to 200 kilometers an hour and above. Jack Baker, similar speed going up there. They brake when they're doing over 220 kilometers an hour. They brake for Griffin. Then they go around towards the cutting. And this is the start of the area where everything closes up on you, and you have to be really concentrating hard to keep it between the on the black stuff and off the walls here, Bill.
Now, as we look back at well, we're on board there. I guess we're not on board. This is a track shot there. You see the red and black car of Baker. The interval was 1.5 seconds. They started across the mountain, and now it starts to grow as Baker continues to be a little faster. It's up to 1.6 seconds. He picked up about a tenth. Not quite the gap that he picked up last time. 1.7 seconds, as you can see that Baker is clearly faster. 1.8 seconds now as he continues to grow the gap across the mountain. 1.9 seconds, and once again, by the time to get to Forest Elbow, it's 2 seconds. You
But
just
Bill,
can't lose half a second. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, all it needs is for Baker to make one mistake, one bad exit, and Tim Harris will be right there with him. But the way that it looks now, we've got a 2.1 second gap. That means no draft whatsoever for Tim Harris. He's got to do it all on his own. And Jack Baker looking the goods at this stage. I don't want to say anything out too loudly in case we put the commentator's curse on Jack Harris, which we've done for just about every other driver. So we'll just keep mum, as they say.
And Scott Newton, as we have 2 to go, Scott Newton's really got to be kicking himself. Remember, he was right in the battle with Harris. They're fighting for the lead. And then he had that horrible pit stop where he overshot his pit box, had to back up. That really cost him any chance for the win.
Oh yeah, for sure. But he's on the podium at this stage, and that is not a shabby result at all. Let's go quickly back and have a look at Nino Natali. He's out there. He's just finished the lap as well. Gary Hamilton about to finish his a lap as well. So these guys have they 31 seconds and 18 seconds off the lead. They're not a factor in the winning of this race or even for a podium position if everything stays the same. Unless there's an accident, that's the way it should stay for 3rd, 4th and 5th place. But Tim Harris has got a slim chance of getting 1st place still, Bill. How is he doing at this stage? Jack Baker looking the goods at the moment.
Yep, still 1-2 with a nice comfortable interval now from Baker. He just doesn't need to make a mistake. Just keep it clean between the walls, on the blacktop. Keep it off the green part. He'll be in good shape. You know, when we were looking at Hamilton there, you can see in the back, maybe we can run down all the cars that are driving. Let's go back to Justin Strickland. We'll finish up with him running in right now in 6th position. Then Jellings is running in 7th. And then the last car out there, I like this one. Top 10 for Darren Lassou, running in 8th, a minute 39 behind the leader, still on the lead lap, and ahead of a lot of big names: Slavasi, Rayner, Blythe, Lazarevic, Rivera.
Absolutely.
Abel. Yeah.
On a track like this, Bill, we've seen it in so many different series. If you can finish the race, you almost guaranteed a good position.
The red and black machine of Jack Baker working through the final corner right now as he's going to get the white flag, I would assume, this time.
Yes, definitely. Last lap board is out for Jack Baker and, of course, Tim Harris as well. Tim Harris must be scratching his head. He had this race wrapped up. He took those tires when he did his pit stop thinking, that'll give me some fresh rubber. He was run down by Jack Baker because, of course, that cost him time. He was run down by Jack Baker, was 1.8 seconds behind when he came out. Had cold tires, got overtaken, and now he just cannot catch Jack Baker once again. Jack Baker, very good through the mountain section here. So let's go to Jack Baker and watch him finish off this race.
Jack Baker was in his stall, according to my timing and scoring, for 4.8 seconds. Harris was in there for 9.5 seconds. Did Baker take enough fuel? Well, I think probably that is the case. I think he's probably safe. But we'll never know for sure until he gets down these final corners. Working his way across the mountain right now.
Bill, 4 point whatever seconds you mentioned there, that's a long time for these guys in the pits. So he's got enough fuel, no worries.
Baker
he just looks so comfortable, Bill.
Looking for his first win of the season. This will help him in the points. Remember, we talked about him jumping 7 spots the week before, 2 more spots this week to get into a tie for third place in the point standings. Well, nothing like winning here to get you up a few more spots. Maybe he can jump in to second place as he works his way down the Conrad Straight. Just has to negotiate through this little chase section here. This little left-right.
And Scott Newton's done a good job, I should say, of catching up to Tim Harris. Tim Harris has gone very conservative indeed. Back to you, Bill, for the finish.
Around the final corner and winner of round number 4 in the Oh, he's slowing down just to tease me. Formula Renault is Jack Baker. He's going to come across the starting line. We'll get the official time. Looks like 1.5 seconds ahead of Tim Harris. Jack, don't do that to me. I'm old. My heart can't take it. Newton comes across in third position. Let's go ahead and follow. Yeah, let's go ahead. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, Nino Natali just coming up to Murray's corner for the final time. Will cross the line momentarily. There he does. And Gary Hamilton also crossing the line there. Let's go back to Justin Strickland. He's just crossing the line. And then, of course, our last one, a couple more. David Jellings still coming down Conrad Straight into the chase right now. And then Darren Lassou still coming across the mountain. So Darren will be a last car there. He's got a whiles to go before he comes across the start-finish line.
Lassou about 51 seconds behind even David Jellings. So we'll follow Jellings across the start-finish line in 7th. And then we'll give a quick tip of the hat to Darren Lassou. I don't think we'll follow him all the way around. An 8th place finish for him. Even if he were to crash right now, I believe he would still come home in 8th as he is 7 laps ahead of Martin Slavasi, the next driver. 8 drivers finished. Vegas put it at 8.5, so if you bet the under, get to the payoff window. All right, this is the Global Sim Racing Channel. What we're going to do is take a short break. We'll be back to run down the entire standings, do driver interviews, and close up shop. Richard and Soup back in a few. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's post-race coverage of the iRacing Drivers Association Australia Formula Renault. Round number 4 from the great track here at Mount Panorama. Boy, we're the real winner. Well, we had 2 winners today. One is Jack Baker. The other one is the track itself, who claimed multiple victims, as it usually does. Let's run through your finishing order. Your winner, he started in 9th. He finishes in 1st. You do the math. Looks like 8 positions gained to me. Jumping Jack Baker. Tim Harris started in the pole, lost a little bit there, was in a battle, ended up in 2nd position. Scott Newton tasted the lead for just a little bit there, but ends up in 3rd, the final spot on the podium. Nino Natal had a nice run in 4th. Gary Hamilton, problems early, was able to bring it back for a top 5 finish. Justin Strickland, similar to Hamilton, able to come across in 6th. David Jellings, a quiet 7th spot. Darren Lassou, the last driver on the lead lap, brings it home in 8th. Then we have 2 drivers, 8 and 14 laps down, Martin Slavossi and Mark Rayner. Rich, round out the rest of those guys who got into trouble early.
Yep, and all of these are DNFs. They did not finish the race. So we have Rally Blythe, Chris Lazarovich. Now, Chris was a leader of this race at one point, and he had a very unfortunate time there in the walls, and eventually had to bring it in and leave it in the pit or behind the pit wall. Marcello Rivera and then Robert Spicer. TJ Brown, early exit for him as well. Brandon Sue, early exit. Simon Fagel. Simon had a great run early and then got into trouble, and he was 20 laps down. And of course, that was the last car at position number 17.
Okay, let's go ahead and do some interviews now, and I believe I'm going to be able to talk to our race winner today. Jumpin' Jack Baker started in 9th, was able to somehow avoid that first corner incident. We'll talk to him about that, and then bring it home in the lead. Jack, you have a copy?
Yeah, I'm here. Do you hear me, Bill?
Okay, I do indeed. So let's take your race in sections here. You started in 9th, so you had that incident with Hamilton and Strickland ahead of you. Were you close to getting caught up in that?
To be honest, Bill, I don't know what the hell happened. I just sort of pulled on the wheel and I survived.
Okay.
It was it happened very fast. I didn't quite actually see how Gary and that got tangled, but guys behind seemed to have sorted itself out a bit. So it was good. That safety car was very influential at this race for us. We just made it at end on fuel, so it was good.
Oh, you know what? I hadn't given that thought. Let's jump to that right now, because we weren't sure if this was going to be a 1 or a 2-stop race. So you're saying that when you took your stop, did you fill it all the way up? I mean, okay, let's shorten the question. Could this have been a 1-stop race without the yellow flags?
Yeah, absolutely. My box on lap, I can't remember now. I only took like 15 litres, and I still made it home with around about 3 or 4 litres left. So yeah, it could definitely still have been 1 stop since.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go through your race. The yellow comes out, you get in there, you're about 5th position, you start picking over there some attrition in front of you. Did you think you were in the hunt there when you were so far behind Harris and he had that stop to make? Did you think you were going to be that close after the stop?
No, I was actually quite a bit surprised. One moment there I was in 3rd, about 8 seconds behind. The next minute I know I'm like just behind Tim, and I'm like, something weird must have happened in the stops. And but I just got really lucky, I guess, and just timed the stops, because I saw that Scott was trying to do the undercut by pitting early, so it's just like, I got to go here, and it kind of worked itself out. I'd love to watch the replay later and see what happened with those 2 guys, because it looked pretty fierce out front from what I could see.
We didn't have time to check. Did you take tires on these Renaults or not?
No. The tyres were fairly good today. It's just towards the last couple of 3 or 4 laps they started to really drop off. You might have seen it for me running off the track a little bit at the last and first corner, but the tyres were all right.
And then, boy, there was one time where you were side by side down the entire Conrad Straight. You were finally able to get around him, and once you got around him, boy, you were quick across the mountain.
Yeah, it's funny how people set their cars up for this race. Scotty and Tim seem to set their cars up more for straight line speed, I'm guessing, whereas mine had a fair bit more downforce on it across the top. So I knew it was going to suck down the straight, but I knew if I could get past them down Mountain Straight or Conrod up into the mountain, I would be fine. So yeah, it was difficult, but yeah, we got it done.
Well, congratulations on the win. You are up 7 positions the week before, 2 more this week. I imagine you're sitting in third right now. Should be able to break that tie for third, maybe get into first or second. Congratulations. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bill. As I said before, I don't know really what happened that race. One moment I was in ninth, one moment I was in like fifth, the next moment I was in the little lead. So yeah, thanks very much, Bill. I'd like to shout out to All Star Motorsports and Brant Tucker for sponsoring us.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Jumping Jack Baker there for All Star Motorsports, your winner today. Richard, you want to talk to the second place driver? Give him a little bit of Australian love there, and that's going to be Tim Harris.
Thank you, Bill. Tim, g'day. How are you, mate?
Not doing too bad. How about yourself?
I'm very well. Good to hear the good old Aussie accent once again. We don't hear enough of that in these races. Hey, Tim, great race. Good second place, but you must be kicking yourself. You had the win going there. Tell us about your pit stop because you elected to take fresh tyres there, and I think that killed you.
Actually, no, I didn't take fresh tyres. What happened was on the in-lap down through the dipper there, I hit the wall on the left-hand side and bent the steering. And it was bent for the rest of the race, so I was losing a good 2 to 3 seconds a lap. And especially on that first lap after I hit it, I didn't really feel the change and was losing a lot of time on the in-lap. So that's why I probably ended up coming out quite as close to Jack as I did. So a bit unfortunate, and I had sort of the win there. I thought I just did way too many mistakes today, and congratulations to Jack on taking the win and getting to the end in front of us.
Yeah, well, look, this track, as we all know, I mean, there's no track. Where do you hail from, New South Wales, Tim?
No, I'm from southeast Queensland, so yeah, it's a lot of the time of day for us now.
Buddy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, anyway, look, that first lap. Tell us about that very first lap, Tim. You and Simon Fagel coming together right at the very first lap. Is that right?
No, I was off the pole, so I got away pretty well. And actually, coming out of turn one, I got a heap of wheel spin and got it really sideways. And I think whoever started off second was alongside me down the straight, but I was kind of lucky the safety car came out and I was able to keep first. But during the safety car period, I nearly fell victim to a Windows 10 update. It alt-tabbed out on me across the top, and I had to retab in quickly and not lose it. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah, well, look, you'll see when you watch the replay, only half the cars finished. In fact, only 8 cars finished the race. The rest were all DNF. So just goes to show how this track can take, can make the attrition rate really high. So coming in second place on the podium, great finish, and must be looking forward to the rest of the races now.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a bit of a rough start to the season, and now that I've been picked up by the Dynamic Sim Racing boys, we've been really charging forward, and last round was a good showing at Watkins Glen in that first race, and we had some good pace here, so really looking forward to the rest of the championship, and hopefully we can finish on the top step one of these days.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for talking to us. Congratulations on your second place. Anyone else you want to give thanks to? Go right ahead.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. I'd like to thank Clint and all his team at the IDA for holding these events. It's a lot of good fun, and I'm looking forward to the series that we're holding fairly soon. Also, the Dynamic Sim Racing boys for picking us up. And also, if you want to check out some awesome race car liveries and designs, or if you're looking for a design, make sure you go check out Thy Designs on Facebook and on Instagram. Cheers, fellas.
Okay. All right, Bill, back to you, sir.
Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up here with our final podium finisher, Scott Newton. Scott, man, I think, this could just be me, but I think the victory was in your grasp. Something funky happened on that pit stop.
Yeah, I think I should fire myself for that. Just flicking through the black boxes and, the fuel, the refuel ticket wasn't selected. So it probably cost me 10 seconds in the pits. And then spun across the top into Skyline. Luckily, I kept it out of the wall. Cost me about 7 seconds there. So, the the victory probably was in my grasp. But yeah, it was a really good racing with Tim and Chris and Jack as well. But yeah, it was just a battle of attrition today, and luckily I was able to get to the end.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Really, honestly, correct me. But Richard and I are watching you when you're in that battle with Harris. It looked to us like his car was faster across the top, but he didn't have anything for you on the straights. Did you set your car up with light downforce?
Yeah, my setup was tailored more towards top speed down Conrod and all the way up Mountain Straight. I knew if I could just stay with Tim, then I'd have a shot at overtaking him into the chase, and hopefully that was caught on the stream as well. But yeah, I just blew past him down the straight.
Yeah, it was all, you could almost feel the panic in his mind to the point where he almost thought that he would have to make the pass going across the hill, because honestly, even with the toe, I don't think he had anything for you down the straight and straight line speed.
Yeah, definitely. Once you hit turn 2, it's pretty much one line all the way to the exit of Forest Elbow, unless you make a really, really big mistake, right. And then you have to sort of get out of the way and just not impede the other driver and cause a crash. And then if there's other cars close up behind, and cause a big pile up. So thankfully I was able to hold it across the top. And for some of the laps, just as long as I was about 0.4 of a second in front, there was no way he was able to get close into the braking zone for the chase.
Well, even though you couldn't beat Baker and Harris, you were able to beat the mountain, and that's an accomplishment in itself. So congratulations, bringing it home on the lead lap, 3 seconds off the pace in third.
No worries. Cheers, Bill.
Scott Newton, your podium finisher today. It'll be interesting to see what the points look like. We want everybody to come back in 2 weeks when this series goes to Laguna Seca. Remember, some of the top drivers up in the points. Gary Hamilton finishes in 5th. Your point leader, Simon Fagel, down, finishing in 17th position. There are no dropped weeks. Things are really going to be, as we say, things are going to be shaken up as we stay in the U.S. here. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Let me go to our closing credits. Boy, we had a good time. And I personally like to give a personal shout out here to my partner, Richard Losper. It's nice to have him come in and talk to some of those drivers in their own language so that they could understand and we didn't have to use a translator. All right, we'd like to thank everybody here at the iRacing's Drivers Association as I continue to fill until I scroll down to where I get to this part of the script, for organizing the series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. We know we have a lot of options when you fly. Thanks for flying GSRC. Thanks to these sponsors that make it possible: The Screwed Gamers, Kart Action Media, and Zanardi Course Australia. See, we learned that in announcer school. You slow down when you get to the sponsors, so they have a little extra time. They're able to make this broadcast possible. Thanks to the companies and equipment and software that you see on the screen right now that we use on our broadcasts, and it all worked perfectly today, at least on my end. I'd like to point out that not the drivers are not the only ones who fall victim to that window update. It can also hit commentators and directors as well, sometimes in a very inappropriate time. The original music that you heard on today's broadcast is thanks to Eric Echolm and Casey Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact them. And do me a favor, if you're going to listen to Echolm or Lalonde's music, would you please put on a pair of headphones and don't get that separation so you can really understand what they're doing. That type of music really deserves some headphone listening. The next race for iRacing Drivers Association is next week, October 26th, when the GT3 Sister Series goes to Le Mans. Oh my goodness, I haven't done a race from Le Mans. Richard, have you announced a race from Le Mans yet?
No, sir, I have not done that. I've done quite a few laps at Le Mans in various cars, but I haven't done a broadcast yet.
That'll be the GT3, so there'll be sports cars there. Now, the Australia Formula Renault Series returns a week later, and they're going to be from Laguna Seca, so you see all these drivers back there trying to get through the corkscrew. For details about all upcoming events, other information about GSRC, your best bet, of course, is globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also at Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at the Global Sim Racing Channel. Finally, on behalf of my mic mate, Richard Losper, our director, Dr. Amjad Yaman, and our camera artist, Dougie Beard, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. And now that the housekeeping is out of the way, it's time for us to go have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.